You're watching Every Day's a Saturday, USMC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Bryan. Hey, what's going on, friends and family? Guys, thank you so much for joining us on another great day on this great coffee talk. We have Marie Slider Hendrickson with us, of course. We'll go ahead and bring her on. Good morning, Marie. How
Good
we doing?
morning.
Just another fun day,
I'm
right?
tired today. Yes. Yeah, I'm tired today, so please forgive me if I seem like I'm low energy, but I'm here.
Well, the good thing is today's kind of my day, where I get to do a lot of the talking. So at least you get to, hopefully I don't put you to sleep though. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the goal, is to keep her awake. But you know how we like to do. Let's go ahead and brew up some coffee before we get this show on the road. All right, what you guys got in your cup today? All right, we got some good old Cash Coffee, guys. Cash Coffee has a little bit of some commonality with Marie. They're out of Utah. They're out of Utah. Cash
Really?
Coffee is out of
Okay.
Utah, and yeah, they're really some great people over there at Cash Coffee. They are all about helping out their. They do a lot of great things for their community. They've opened up their doors. I know for like during the holidays, they've had Thanksgiving meals, Christmas time. They bring people in. They just do a lot of great things, and they're very much about their first responders and veterans. They even have a safe at their coffee shop, right? A gun safe. And if you're feeling some kind of way that maybe you're not in a good mental mind and you want to you feel that you're not feeling safe around your weapons, they will allow you to go to their safe absolutely free, no questions asked. They'll lock it up for you. And when you're ready to have peace again, go back and retrieve your weapon.
I'll have to go check it out, and maybe one of these days I can record from the office and do a shout out for them.
Yeah, that would be outstanding. And then you could be like, "Hey, Brian Roof sent me." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that would be weird that we have that connection." But that would be super cool if that could ever go down. I'll have to find out exactly what city it is and see exactly how far you guys are from each other. But that would be crazy.
Road
Because
trip, man.
yeah, I guess I forgot to say that these last few times, and then when I was like, they just posted something. I was like, you know what? That's right. They're out of Utah too. So, but anyways, all right. Today is my time to talk about Brian's version of military life. Last week was Marie's version of military life. So for me, I decided to join the United States Marine Corps. Um, Never really in my wildest dreams when I was in high school or even younger, did I really think that I foreseen myself joining the military. Now, me and my cousins, we'd go out and play in the desert and act like we were army guys and stuff like that. Um, and what's funny is I didn't even really know what the Marines were so much because they always talked about the Army. You always saw a lot of the Army commercials and stuff like that. And then they had like one Marine commercial. It was like the guy slaying the dragon with a sword and stuff like that. um, but I never really envisioned myself, being a military guy. I thought I was going to go play football, and so uh, to the point that I actually was enrolled at the local junior college. I had gotten some small little letters from like the biggest school I had was Hawaii, but my I wasn't into school, right? So I feel like I wasn't ambitious enough to try to even go hunt down all the paperwork and get that going. And that's how I ended up at the junior college here local to me. And they ended up just basically handing me a schedule because once again, I didn't even really feel like enrolling in all this stuff. but they pushed me through it. And they're like, here's your schedule. And it was just a whole bunch of no good classes that would have really served me no purpose. So I just was really, you know, I was going to play. I was number 75 on the team. I never showed up to one single practice yet, but they already had it all ready for me and everything. Um, and it was a summer day, and I was literally just kind of hanging out, chilling. And back in the day, we used to have phone books to look up phone numbers. Then there was the yellow pages, right? The, people probably don't see phone books anymore. They used to have them everywhere. These big, thick catalog books. You got the white pages, the yellow pages, and you used to be able to go find people's phone numbers by their last names and stuff like that. It was just a big directory catalog. And
Kids
anyhow,
nowadays probably have no idea what it is.
that's yeah, exactly. I would, it's funny. Those things are probably like dinosaurs. If it would be funny to find one so you could show someone like, yeah, this is how people used to look up people's numbers back in the day before there was Google. You know what I mean? And you had to have it by city or whatever too, right? There was one for each of the cities. And anyhow, so going through the yellow pages, and I decided to start calling recruiters for the military. And that day, I called the Air Force, the Navy. Um, I did call the Army because there was an Army recruiter that was bugging me in high school. He's just constantly bugging me, and he really turned me off to the point that I was like, I ain't joining the Army, you know. Um, so this guy, Staff Sergeant Burke, he answers the phone, and he basically is like, "Hey, come on down. I'll give you the rundown of whatever you can expect." And so, yeah, got her. She's already on it, folks.
Sorry.
No, I'm messing with you. So I go down to see Staff Burke. It's like a little office, uh, and he's dressed in normal clothes. He's not really dressed like a Marine or nothing like that. It's got the good haircut going, and it's the weekend for these guys. So I think he was kind of like in PT gear, and he just starts giving me the spiel about joining the Marine Corps, and the way he makes it all sound, it just sounds so appealing to me. Like, because I love camping, I love shooting weapons, all this stuff, and that's basically like, you like camping? Yeah, I love camping. Well, we got kids, we camp, man. We shoot these nice, big weapons, and he's just pumping me up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, man, this sounds like really what I want to do. And he's just like, well, do you know if you ever taken the ASVAB? And I was like, I'm not sure. I said, I think I did. I think I did in my junior year in high school. I think, you know, uh, I was like, I think they had me do a test and everything. And he's like, well, let me look it up. And he's like, yeah, he did. He took it. He's like, it's not that great, but it's not that bad, And I was like, well, that's good. He said, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I really don't want to go back and take another like test, and so he was just like, well, you can get some jobs with this. He said, you're not going to be able to go for like the big job, like a Intel or something like that, if, unless you want to go retake the ASVAB. And I was like, no, man, I really don't. And he's like, well, that's fine. Um, we can work with that. And I was like, okay, cool. Uh, After that, he was just like, it all kind of got speedy there. He was asking me, hey, you party and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I've partied, man. He's like, all right, cool. Well, maybe we should go get you drug tested before we take you down to MEPS and stuff like that to make sure you're good to go. If you said you've been partying, I was like, okay, So I go in, I get myself tested, and lo and behold, they're like, oh, he should probably wait about a week, before he goes. We do see some THC in his urine and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, thank God. And I was like, damn, man, is this gonna get me kicked out or nothing? He didn't care about it. He just really wanted me to be in. So he just wanted to make sure that when I got down there that wasn't gonna be my
Kick you out.
defining factor, that I would, and then I'm done forever. And my chances of going in would be pretty much none at that point. So anyways, we waited that week, and I was getting ready to go. I was in shock about this. I didn't know. I watched Full Metal Jacket, and so my mom and everybody was kind of like nervous. They didn't know. They were kind of like surprised that I'm doing this, because I really didn't talk it over with my parents before I kind of made the decision. It was just a hair at my butt that day, and I really decided that this is what I'm doing, and I kind of just told them this is what I'm doing, and they ended up throwing me like a little going away party. You had some friends come over, and kind of my last goodbye with everybody, and then the recruiter comes, picks me up, and takes me off, and we're driving towards the place that I used to work before I joined. It was up in the mountains too, and it's not it's kind of out of the way from driving down to LA. And I'm thinking like, dude, where are we going? And I'm not really, I'm kind of like nervous. So I'm not really talking. I'm just really quiet. And because he did say we had to go pick up a couple people, to take them. We're all going down together. And I'm like, that's crazy. So then he keeps driving into this campground. It's called the Oaks. And I'm like, what is going on? He's like, and I'm like, what are we doing here? He's like, oh, I'm picking up this guy named Isaac Warble. And I was like, what? I worked with that guy. I said, I've known that dude. I said, that's crazy. He's going down with me to boot camp. And he's like, yeah, you guys are all going to be together. I was like, that's wild. So here I am, kind of like in the buddy program, not in the buddy program, we didn't sign up in no buddy program, but we end up, so pick him up, and I'm just like, dude, what's going, it's just crazy, and we kind of like were friends, like we had to work with each other here and there, but we went like super close, it's just like kind of acquaintances, right? So now at this point, we're like, dude, we're about to be in this together, and so I do got a crazy story about that guy as well later on. And so we drive down to LA Maps, and we get put in a hotel. They put us in overnight, go through the whole LA Maps thing where they literally test you from head to toe. And after that, they send
The
you
duck walk.
on, they
If
do
you
the
know, you
duck
know.
walk.
If
Yeah.
you know, you know.
Yeah. The cough, all the things. I mean, they literally check it out. They're
Hmm.
checking every crevice and orifice of your body, blood pressure, all that. So after that, they bus us up, and we start going down to MCRD San Diego, and on the way down there, there's a stop that they do at Denny's, and they let us all out, and they gave us steak and lobster. I'm just like, what? Damn. It's like a final meal. You don't realize this. It's your final meal. It's your final normal civilian kind of meal, right? Because after this, you're just eating, fucking slop on the cafeteria food.
For those
Um,
who don't know, when you're in the military and they give you lobster, be prepared. Something
yeah,
is coming.
yeah,
Something is coming.
that's the
Yes.
tail. They're giving you the lobster tail because that's the tail end of some shit, right? Like
Yep.
it's the tail end of your life as you know it.
Yeah. Just realize that something fishy's coming.
There you
Yeah.
go. So yeah, anyways, as she said, there it goes. And then right after that, we're back on our bus, and I feel like from that point on, like people were really conversating a lot, but you noticed that the tone got a lot more serious, right? Now that everybody's getting on the bus, and our next stop is MCRD San Diego. So, we're all sitting there, and you come up to this gate, man, and you just see these Marines standing there at their post, and it gives you that presence. You're like, damn, these are, you're going into like an installation. It just, they have this presence. I think it's probably a setup, but you just kind of get the chills as you're going through, and you're like, wow, I'm going to be like one of these dudes, and then you go through, and it's just a weird drive,
Mhm.
because they take you right up to the yellow footprints, There's two buses. I think there were of us. There's one in front of us and us, and everybody stops, and with that door open, and you just. And I mean, you don't even know what the guy's saying. You just know
You're
that you got
not
to get
human
your.
anymore. You
Yeah,
are
at this
not human
point,
anymore.
you don't even know what the hell's going on. It just automatically went chaos, and you don't even know what the dude's saying. You see everybody moving, and you're like, okay, they're moving, I'm moving, I'm going wherever they're going, and you just get on your feet, get on the don't be looking down at your, it's like, oh no, dude. And so you're trying to find the yellow footprints, and of course, no matter how you stand on them, you're not standing on them right because every guy's and they're telling you stand on them right, but don't look down at your foot to go find out where you're standing. You're just and so I'm just like, holy shit, man. I'm like, whoa, I'm not used to this like chaos right off, just getting screamed at. I've played sports and stuff, but this is a whole different degree. So they take us through the receiving part, and they shave your head. They make you put all your stuff in a box. They put all your personal stuff in a box it all up. And that's like the box you'll get at the end. And then you're trying to fit into your clothes at the end. It's hilarious because everybody's like swimming in all their old civilian tire that you turned in. And then after that, you go through everything. It's get your hair cut, get your camis. They take you through courses. You got to do your W-2 forms. There's all this legality stuff you got to go through. And it's for about 3 days, and you're with a receiving, he's a gunnery sergeant, and he's kind of like teaching you the ways before you get released into your actual platoon. So during those 3 days, you're learning how to march, you're learning how to stand guard at night, stand watch, and you're learning how to speak properly because you're supposed to talk in third person there, and that is like this recruit request permission to speak to so and so. You gotta talk in third person when you're in boot camp. There's no referring yourself as a I, me, or any. It's this recruit,
That's different because that's not like it is in the Army.
no, it's
So
not like that's the Marine Corps is different in so many ways. If you were to watch the boot camp, because me and my buddy, we broke down all the different boot camps, and there's nothing like the Marine Corps boot camp. Like seriously, and just the certain things that they really teach you and drive on you. And like I said, they make you remove yourself as an individual. You are no longer a person. You are this recruit. You are now, and until you're a Marine, and when you become a Marine, now you're allowed to talk out of the third person, and you're a Marine, and you can call you can act like a Marine, such a thing.
so they like really strip your ego, strip who
Oh,
you are, who you were,
yes.
and then they're like, this is your new. I mean, like the Army kind of does
And,
that, but it sounds like they're like, no, you are no longer this being. Here is your new identity.
right. And
That's
so they don't even
okay.
let us blouse our boots, right? So we have to cuff them. You got to cuff them. We're not allowed to blouse them yet. There's certain things we weren't even allowed to have an EGA on our pockets yet because back then we got iron-ons. These things right here, they're little iron-ons, iron-on patches. And before they came out with digis, you used to have to iron these onto your camis on the left breast pocket. So, but when you first get your camis, you don't get that. You don't get your name taps. It doesn't say United States Marines on it. None of that, right? And you just they make you look like trash until you graduate boot camp. Now you blouse your boots, and now when you go to the chow hall, they got to say gangway Marine. They got to get out of your way. The recruits got to make a hole when the Marines are coming through. When we were in the chow hall as a recruit, if there was a Marine that came by, you had to say gangway Marine and get out of his way and let him through. It was just something that you ended up earning. Once you earn that title, there's a lot of things that come with that title, right? But they don't allow you to act a certain way until you earn it, right? So they kind of make you literally crawl, walk, then run. They literally take us and they break you down. They literally break you down and make you feel like you're a piece of dog shit, and then they build you up. It's a process, and it's a weird process because they don't want to demoralize you, because if they demoralize you as a unit, you guys are never going to be able to succeed. They got to beat you down enough to where you want to still strive to be the best and keep wanting to keep going, right? They got to beat you down just enough, where you still want to go, but you're not defeated, right? Um, so going through boot camp was a culture shock. It was a lot of things, right? We weren't allowed to talk. We were allowed about a 15-second phone call home when we first got there, and it was a writing on the wall, and this is what we had to say. It was, "Hi, Mom, I'm safe. I will talk to you at the," and then, "Love you. Goodbye." Next, and then that better be, you got to read the script. So other than maybe mail call, we had so like on Sundays, Sundays were the only time where you got a little bit of what you called freedom. And this is where all the religion people really came out. Everybody really started loving God, and became some denomination, denomination for a religion, because they were able to get away from the drill instructors, and they were able to go to a church and sit and worship and pray, and kind of be a little bit back to yourself for a second. A lot of crying in these, I mean, it just, everybody becomes super religious during this time. It's crazy how much people lean back on the religion part, when they're in these deep, when they're in a place where they don't know what to do, because we're not allowed to talk to each other either. And that's one of the crazier part. You're sitting here with 52 dudes that you never talk to. You just sit there and watch and hear everything that they're doing wrong and get smoked or whatever. And, we're just building a relationship based off of what we're watching, So these 4 hours that we get is a little bit of a time where the drill instructors kind of leave you alone for a second. But in those 4 hours, there's a lot of shit you got to get done, right? So one, they want you to wash your camis. And when we washed our camis, it was hand wash. We took a brush and soap, and we went out to a wash rack, and we had to literally scrub and wash our camis out. There was no laundromat or nothing like that. Then
That
after that, we
sucks.
had to hang dry them all, right? So
What
they
what
gave us
year did you go?
2000. This is the year 2000. I went in
Okay.
February of 2000, right?
And they
So
still made you scrub things.
yeah, I was tripping. I
Yeah.
had a brush and some. They made us go to the PX, right, and they made us buy like laundry soap, this stuff called Bulldog. It's like a aftershave smell, and Listerine and all this stuff, because how they made us clean the floors is they make a concoction. They put this Bulldog, Listerine, water, all into a bucket. And then on the field days, we'd have to sit there and scrub all this stuff too, right? So the other things they made us buy is like laundry soap. So when on the Sunday, you got to go out there, and if you didn't wash your damn camis, you're gonna be stinking, man. I mean, so we had to be out there scrubbing, and those are only going to be as clean as what you're doing, anyways, too, right? But it really, I think it's part of a process that they do in teaching you another part of being responsible, having to survive without having the luxuries of the luxuries. Because when you go to these other countries, you're not going to have a lot of American luxuries that we got, straight up.
Yeah.
I could attest to that for sure. um so anyhow, going through boot camp, I was able to be a squad leader for a little while, but then I got my ass fired. The iteration, you get usually a squad leaders. They would fire squad leaders all the time, and usually a squad leader is kind of like in charge of a certain group and stuff like that. And it's only mainly, it really matters when you're going to the chow hall and you're marching and doing all this stuff. Um, and it also matters when you graduate, because if you graduate at one of those, you get like a notorious PFC. You graduate as a PFC instead of a private. And if you get guide, you can leave as an E3, which that's crazy. If leaving boot camp as an E3, a Lance Corporal, That's pretty wild. And I don't know if they still do that now, but that was kind of like your reward, because as the guide and the squad leader, sometimes they would get nastily smoked and yelled at for the rest of the group, because one PFC Schmuckatelli couldn't do something fast enough. And so the way it worked back when I was in, there's about 2 months that you do in Camp Pendleton MCRD, and that's where you do a lot of like teaching you like the educational side. We did swim qual, some O courses and stuff like that. Then for the last month, and I think they've changed this since, you go to Edson Range, and that's where you go learn how to do a lot of the field stuff. You learn how to do firing. They do live firing. They do ammo can runs, and also whatever you placed. This is the crazy part about the Marine Corps that I really didn't even know, but they take drill to another level. They really take drilling to another level, and that's marching and doing all these movements and stuff like that, to the point that there is a competition. It's a competition amongst, so like I was Alpha Company. So all the platoons, 1044, 1045, and 46 and 47, all of us competed against each other in a marching event. And they had a whole bunch of like sergeant majors and generals and stuff that were part of like a judging panel. And so however you placed it there would be your job when you go to Edson Range. My platoon took second place, and we got the chow hall. So when I was at Edson Range, my job was to go to the chow hall during like a little bit before the lunchtime, and I was the salad maker. I was tossing salad, folks. No pun intended, right there. All right, I did it right on the drink.
All right.
She wasn't ready for that.
Oh, it's funny. No, I was not.
So anyway, yeah, I'm sitting there. I used to have to get the salad, break it up, chop it up, and then make the big old bowls of salad, put some tinfoil over it, and I can't tell you how many big bowls we made, because we're doing it for the entire Edson Range. So we do that. Edson Range was a little bit different in terms of the pace and everything like that, because at this point in time we're at the last phase of the recruiting part, and the big final finale for us is what we call the Crucible, and it's like a 52-hour course, and they give you 2 MREs that you need to make last, and that's all they give you is you get 2 MREs. They put you in a platoon, about 10 or so, 10 or less. No, I wouldn't say a platoon, a squad, like a little squad. They put us all in little squads. And then we had to go and do all these different courses. And we had to work together. There would be scenarios at each of these courses that we had to complete. And you were timed and all those things. And if you didn't do it, you would get a fail. And, they just keep making you redo it until you finally got through it. But that was a really challenging thing, man, because at that point in time, we're starting learning, there's sleep deprivation, because now they have us out there sleeping in these little half shelters, which these are like, it's like a piece of material that goes like this, and then a little iso mat that we slept on with some sleeping bags. And then we also had to stand watch. So if you got stuck, you had to wake up in the middle of the night and go, walk around for an hour and look at the tumbleweeds and stuff like that, and make sure, nothing was going on at the boot camp. Once we got to the end of that, we have to climb this huge ass mountain at the end, and it's very much of a challenge. When you're going up that. It's called the Reaper. When you're going up the Reaper, you're almost kissing the mountain as you're walking up, and you got full packs on. There's guys that had to go up there with stress fractures in their legs. There was one dude that had like a broken leg. But you have to finish this. You got that is the final thing. If you don't make it up that mountain, it is literally a fail, and you got to go. And they'll send you back, and you got to go redo it again. So everybody, whether they were hurt or not hurt, man, guys were pushing each other, pulling each other, carrying each other up that mountain because they wanted everybody to finish. I mean, there was dudes with major injuries that were like, I'm not going back because this is the last leg. If they make it, they're done. They don't have to go worry about it. If they don't, they got to go sit in this thing called MRP, which is a medical something platoon where you go and rehabilitate yourself, medical rehabilitation platoon. And then you get thrown back in at whatever phase that you failed. And no one wants to do that because then now you got to go get in with a new platoon. They've already been together for so long. It's just a mess. So guys were going up there at all cost. Then when you're sitting on the top of that mountain and you get your Eagle globe and anchor in your hand, it is just a moment that I cried like a baby because it was one of the biggest accomplishments in my entire life. It was something that I could be so proud of, and I knew where I came from because everything kind of flashed before my eyes as I get that handed. Like all the shit I've been through as a kid, everything literally just that moment defined it all for me. Because now I'm not a definition of what had happened or my past. I am now making my own definition of who I am and stuff like that. So it was such a I couldn't help my emotions up there. I mean, one of my guys like, shut up, bro. Stop crying. And I'm like, I'm just like, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I was just so proud.
Well, after your childhood and feeling like, things are happening to you, you being forced into different situations without your choice. This is something that you accomplished on your own. This is your merit. This is your fight. This is your
No one
defining
helped
moment
me.
of who you are. So that's awesome. That is awesome.
It was a big defining factor for myself. This was something for the first time in my entire life that I literally started from the beginning on my own and I finished it on my own,
Hmm.
and that was a big win for me
Yeah.
as a human being. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, it's hitting me a little bit harder because I guess I never really reflected back on that and realized what a huge, thing, like accomplishment it was for me.
Well, you got me thinking about my journey too, and kind of makes me get emotional because it's the same thing. It's like, after going through so much that we went through, it's like we did something for ourselves that we could
Yeah.
escape our past and start a new life. And even though for me, I ran to a lot of the wrong places after this, still, like it still is something that it's like, hey, here is something that you did. Here is something that your efforts created, and you have accomplished this, and you are a soldier for me, and you are a Marine for you. It's like here is this giant accomplishment, and it's not for anybody else. It is just for you and just for me, because that's the thing. When I joined, it was about me finding my way, and same for you. And it's like, look what we did. Even if we joined, like for me, I joined because of an argument. I didn't know where else I was going to go. But yeah, sorry, but I didn't know where
No.
else I was go. But yeah, it's like, okay, I have done something for me now. I am strong. I am capable, and so I can imagine how you felt, because Marine training is so much different, and so intense. And so how awesome it is that you were able to accomplish that, and you were able to make it to that point. And it's like, I don't know about you, but for me, it was like the first time I really felt pride in myself.
Oh yeah. It did something for me, and it's kind of sad that we as humans have such a short term memory on certain things like that, right? Like I never allowed myself to give myself time to really congratulate myself or be proud of myself for my accomplishment because I just had to keep going, right? It wasn't the end. I mean, yeah, that was I got the title. Now I got to go be the Marine. right? The Marine that
Yeah.
they trained me to be. Now I got to go be that. And I'm just looking back at it. I'm really proud at the young man that I was then. And probably the first time I've ever really congratulated myself, right? Like, good job, dude. Like, you did something really good for yourself there. So
You beat the odds. You beat so many odds because you've got the odds of the life that you grew up in, the gang stuff, and then, so many people don't make it through Marine training.
right.
So many people don't do it. So yeah, that is a giant, huge, huge, awesome thing. And yeah, if nobody's ever said it to you, like mad props, dude, congrats. You are amazing for doing that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just, it's weird when you start to reflect, man. Like, that's why I love what we're doing. It's giving me an opportunity to go back and be proud of myself for some of the things. Shoot, man, there's a lot of things I could be bad, upset with myself over, but damn, man, some of these things like this, like, that moment in time where I felt it like hit me like an emotional wave. And it's because no one knew what I came through or what I've been through to get there. Right.
And that
And
didn't
everybody
matter in
had their
that
own
moment.
story, and everybody has their
Yeah.
own story, and everybody had their own thing, right? Whether I imagine that moment was, spoke to everybody a certain way.
Mhm.
But I love the way the Marine Corps does it because when you get that EJ in your hand, when you get this handed to you in your palm, I have it still. It is unbelievable to be able to call yourself that fucking title now, you know? And now you get to go look like these dudes that were badass looking, in their uniforms and everything else. And now that, and you've been trained that you have a hell of a tradition to keep up with and upheld, because there's a lot of men and women that came before us that earned the fucking title, that did way better things than any of us. And that's why we're here today. And they paved the way for each and every one of us. And so it was an absolute honor to call myself a Marine and be able to be under a branch of amazing human beings. And that's not just for the Marine Corps, it's the armed forces in general. Um, but anyhow, I'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go into what it was like when after I left boot camp and all that stuff. Cause, like I said, life just keeps on going and you got to keep on ticking. All right, we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll get back. We'll get right back into it.
Join us for Hero Stock, a special event dedicated to honoring our veterans and first responders. Experience a day filled with incredible live music performed by those who served and protected our communities. Connect with our nonprofits dedicated to helping our heroes thrive. Discover the services available to support our veterans and first responders in their journey. Bring the whole family. Kids will love the fun activities designed just for them. Reconnect with your community and celebrate the courage and sacrifice of our heroes at Hero Stock. Join us for a day of music, support, and togetherness. Check us out today on www.herostock.org.
All right, and we are back. All right, so I got us up to the point where I earned my Eagle Globe and Anchor, and got what accomplishment that was. After you get your Eagle Globe and Anchor, you go down and they give you a Warrior's breakfast, which is a big, all the food you haven't been able to eat. It's finally there. They got an array of it, and they just let you kind of let loose and eat. And we don't got to talk in third person anymore. We're, like I said, we're blousing our boots and we're kind of acting like Marines. And they let us go knock out like for like a day. We got to kind of sleep from that morning time all the way through the night until the next day. And then they did like a family day, where the family comes and you get to hang out with all your family for the first time, get to run them around and show them all the old courses, and get a little bit of a taste of what you went through. And then the next day they had a graduation day, and once they released us, we went, and I went to my parents took me, and we stayed in like a hotel because they wanted to go to the SeaWorld the next day. So here I am, this boot looking dude. I'm like dressing kind of different, tucking my shirt in now. My clothes don't fit right. They bring me all these clothes that don't fit right. The first morning I wake up, I get my Go Fasters on, which we call them Go Fasters. They're running shoes, and my PT gear on green, and I go running like a freaking boot, man. Just like I wake up and I'm running. I got my dog tags on now, and what a boot I was. I can't even tell you. I was so proud though to be a Marine. And so we get home, and it's kind of weird. Life is different. My friends, just everything is different now. Life is completely different. When I was hanging out with them, it's just different. I can't express it. I didn't even feel like I wanted to be there. I wasn't having fun at the parties and hanging out with all these people because it just wasn't, a lot of it I couldn't even do anymore. And I didn't want to get myself in any kind of trouble. And but I did like staying home a little bit, so I reached out, and my he was a staff sergeant at the time. He asked me if I wanted to do recruiting duty, and that buys you like an extra 2 weeks at home. So what you do is you walk around with your recruiter, you go to the high schools and you talk to people about your experience, and you're trying to help the recruiter basically get kids signed up. So you get to do that for like 2 weeks or 10 days. After I got done with that, if you are a support Marine, you go into Marine combat training. If you are an infantry Marine, you go to School of Infantry. They're basically kind of like the same, except obviously School of Infantry is way more extensive, and it's teaching you, all the basics of being a basic rifleman. And when you go through Marine combat training, it's more of the support group. You're learning how to set up support. You're learning how to support and fight, right? Because now you have dual missions. You're not only, because every Marine is a qualified basic rifleman. Everybody in the Marine Corps has been taught to be a basic rifleman. That's why we all go through the same boot camp and all that. The only difference is, like I said, when you get out, whether you're the fighter Marine or you're a support Marine, that's the difference in where they go to teach you, and you get your more extensive training.
So, question for you,
Sure.
random side note.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know for like me in the Army, after we do our basic training, we went into our job training, right? And so we called it AIT, Advanced Individual Training. And so, like for me, my focus switched from the fighting, type stuff, right, into the medical stuff. And that was my main priority. We still did some field exercises, but like we'll say 90% of the training was on the medical. From what I heard, with the Marines, you guys continue focusing on that
The
infantry
fighting
stuff a
first.
lot,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
then you continue with a little bit of the job training, but your guys's first priority is always we are infantrymen, we are riflemen. Is that correct?
Yeah. So right out of boot camp,
Okay.
I find out what job I'm going to, right? And I find out I'm supply. Okay. I don't even go to my job training yet. All of us, every single one of us got to go through the next training first before you go off to your schools. That after Marine combat training or School of Infantry, even then after that, you will go to your core classes, your core schools. So after I think it was 17 days, I did Marine combat training, and like I said, that's really teaching you how to do movements, ambushes, how to defend ambushes, um, how to set up fighting holes, and then how to set up your directional of like whenever you got to give they make you set up this way of like a direction of fire, and you have to put these sticks down, and then you got to draw where your direction of fire is, and each fighting hole has their own direction. So then you give it to the sergeant, and then they see, all right, looks like this area ain't covered. Hey, you guys need to open up your firing hole. You need to close yours down more, whatever. So that way we make sure that all parts of the battlefield are covered, right, with spray. And then they taught us a lot of that, firing the Mark 19s, the saws, uh, golfs. I mean, you name it. That's where we fired a lot of. We did throwing nades, the nade range. Like I said, a lot of it was movements, and it was continuing to be the warfighter because once again, as a Marine, every Marine is a basic warfighter, and you could plug us in and we can go fight. You know what I mean? We may not know the specifics of certain like the units, but we can go fight on our own. If we're attacked as when we were in the Middle East and we would do convoys, if we got attacked, we had to fight off our own attacks. We can make some call-ins, if it got over crazy, but we still had to be able to defend ourselves, and we had to be able to know how. And that's the other part is they kind of taught you is, hey, if when you're driving in a vehicle, if you get attacked, here's how you react. This is how you get out. This is how you, set up. And this is how you put the fire down range. They kind of just give you the basics. So after you do the 17 days of that, then they send us off to school. All right. So now I'm going off to be for my world. There's 3051s and there's 3043s. A 3043 is the admin side of the warehouse. They're the ones that do all the ordering. They deal with all the financial side, all the paperwork side. Then there's the 3051, who is the warehouse guy. He's the one that's handing out the gear, doing wall-to-wall inventory, setting things up, putting it away, taking it out, you name it. And so when I got to North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina is where my schooling was. When I first got there, there wasn't a class picking up. So they had to send us to guard duty. Well, my guard duty is I got colors. So I'm the color guy, and I got to do with the flag. I got to do reveille and all that stuff in the morning. We got to go do, reveille and taps. That was my big thing. So in the morning, I had to make sure that my uniform was totally. I had to always have my shit spit shine, and this is back in the day when we had to iron our camis. Have nice creases ironed out, and we used to use a lot of what's that spray? Makes your stuff hard. I'll think of the name of it, but we used to use it like crazy because when you would spray your camis and you would sit there and iron them, they would become like cardboards, right? And so,
oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, well, darn it, man. I used it so much, and I can even smell it right now as I'm talking about it because we used to use the hell out of it. Anyhow, so that was kind of my duty. And then once we got picked up in our schooling, I think my schooling was 2 to 3 weeks. You're supposed to pick your 3 top duty stations you want to go to. I don't know why I didn't really take the opportunity to go like venture off. I wanted to go right back into home. I wanted to be close to home. So all my duty stations were all located in California. So when it comes time to get your orders, they're like, here's yours, Roof. What? 29 Palms? I didn't pick 29 Palms. That wasn't even one of my 3.
That's in Florida, right?
No, 29 Palms is in California, and it's in
okay.
it's in the desert, and it's hot as hell. It is literally like it's always over 100 degrees, and being a Marine and training the way we do, that is not fun to do, right? So I'm just sitting there like, and you always hear everybody talk shit about the stumps. 29 Palms sucks, dude, So when I got that, I'm like, no, not me. So I end up going and flying home because my family didn't live too far from Palm Springs. I think it's like a 2-hour drive from my house. They picked me up from the LA, and I go to retrieve my bags, my sea bags, all that shit, with all my stuff I need to check in. None of it. They lost it all. They lost all my. They lost everything that I had gotten issued, and I'm supposed to take with me all the way through. And now I'm stressing out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go check in with these things, and I don't got no stuff. Because I'm new, man. They don't. There's no number to call if you need help or something. Like, if you're 1-800, you're fucked. You know what I mean? Straight up. So lo and behold, though, my stuff gets found like the day before I have to go. So we drive down to LAX, retrieve my sea bags, because I had 2 sea bags, like a clothes bag with all your uniform, and I think that was probably it. And so I luckily got it. Drive to 29 Palms to go check in. I get there, and it's like the evening time. I'm supposed to check in that next morning, and it's blazing hot there. I'm like, oh gosh, damn. It's nighttime too. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun, because it's like August time frame. Like, I think we're on like August. It's dead ass summer. So when I get up to go check in, it's this warrant officer I have to go check in, and there's a whole thing when you check in as a Marine. There's a whole thing you got to do. You got to walk up. There's a certain distance you're supposed to stand between the desk and him. There's a thing you got to greet them with. And even when you leave, there's a certain way you got to leave, right? So I'm like, oh, here's the training of checking in, because now, you're straight boot, and these guys are going to be messing with you. I go in, check in with the warrant officer. He makes me sit down, and he's like looking over my stuff, and he's just like, well, Devil Dog, I got some good news and I got some bad news. How do you want it? I said, well, shit, give me the bad news. I mean, there's probably no good news here, like in the Marine Corps, good news. So he's just like, they messed your orders up. I was like, really? Oh, sheesh. He's like, you're actually supposed to go to Camp Pendleton. I was like, that's the one I wanted to go to, and he's like, I was like, well, what's the, no, I said, no, what's the, no. And I said, what's the good news? And he's like, well, I do need a 3051 here, but I am feeling kind of nice today, and I can let you go back to your original, what your orders are for. And I didn't want to act happy. I didn't want to give him that inclination, but inside I'm throwing a party in my head, like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going, And then I just gave that little, yes, sir, I think I'll go ahead and go to Camp Pendleton. And then he's just like, all right, I'll go ahead and get your orders prepared, and then we'll send you on your way. And boom, then he gave me my orders. I was able to actually drive back home, because 29 Palms is kind of in between San Diego and there. And so I had a whole other night to go back home. They gave me like a 24-hour grace period. And then I went and go check in at Camp Pendleton. And when I go to check in there, it's like almost cold. It's the same nighttime, evening check in. But now I'm like, oh gosh, it's like chilly here. I'm like, here we go. It just the smell, I could smell it, like just like, oh, I'm just thinking, yeah, man, this is great. They put me up in a room, and the next day I check in, and then they send me off to Supply Battalion, and this is at Camp Pendleton in 22 area. It was called Supply Battalion, and a group called Storage. Right, so Storage is a big warehouse. You drive down; it's a big ass warehouse road. It consists of bins, which are small little parts. There's bulk, which are the big part, medium bulk parts, which are bigger parts. They had a receiving department, all this stuff. And these were all things that supported tank battalions, all the different groups with all the different components they needed. So I check in there, and I'm just like, I'm not really knowing what to expect. This is my first time, and we call it the fleet. And and I'm not really, like I said, this is new to me. So it's kind of like a job, right? Like, they want you to show up by a certain time. You got to be in formation on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There was PT every morning at 05. You had to be out there for PT formation, ready to go. And that first that first group I got to was kind of rough. It was just, they called it the plantation there. And and I saw why. And it's because they were literally, if if Mattel, they had more games than Mattel. Let's just say that. Let's just say they had way more games than Mattel at this place. They used to make us, they're like, oh, the president's coming. The president's coming to Camp Pendleton. We got to clean up the place. They'd have us go out and start weeding little weeds out of cracks and stuff like that. I mean, for hours. And of course, the president, he ain't coming to go see the warehouse road, man. You know what I mean? Like, this is just them messing with us. And the field days there were horrible. Like, what field days are, guys, is you have to clean, right? They call it's cleaning. Now, every Thursday after work, right, 16:30, which is 4:30, is when they let you go. You used to go to the chow hall, and then you used to have to be in formation at 1700. That's 5:00 p.m. And everybody was out at the basketball courts. And then what they would have us do is go to our rooms and clean our rooms and do a field day. And they really want you to do it for a certain span of time. They kind of leave it up to you. All right. So the next morning, on Friday morning, when you're out PTing, they got the company gunny and a couple other people with some little boards going through each and every room and inspecting it. Now, the company gunny was really a jerk, such an asshole. Everybody hated the company gunny. Someone decided to key the company gunny's car.
Ooh.
That was a big mistake. When they did that,
oh no.
When they did that, we all paid the horrible price. That morning, he went in the first room and felled the whole entire barracks just within seconds. And then we get a call back, and they're like, hey, the barracks felled, guys. So this is Friday. This is Friday now, right? The barracks felled. That means during your lunchtime, you need to go back and clean your rooms. And we'll see if they, pass them then, right? So we all went to our room for lunch, cleaned again. We all failed again, right? So then after work Friday, this guy makes us go down to the basketball courts, and he's making us go do everything by the numbers. Go up and clean your faucets. You got 10 seconds. And this is like a 3 or 4 story building where guys are running up and shit. And he's literally 10, 9, 8, 5. He just counting so fast. Like he's just doing everything like a drill instructor to us. Everything was, we're not going to win. And he just literally beat the shit out of us with that, like running up and down the stairs for hours. And then they made us go to bed at 10. And they made us get up again they let us sleep till 6 on Saturday. They got us up, and then we all had to stand outside of our rooms and wait for them to come through and inspect. And then that morning, they finally let us go. But these are the games that they would just kind of play with us and stuff like that. And yeah, so this was all in the year 2000, right? Nothing really popped off. Then, boom, let's get down to 2001 when the trade centers get hit. All right. So September 11th, 2001. Just any normal day, we're all at work. I have an eye appointment that day. They send me off to go do my eye appointment. And while I'm sitting at the this is like at the base hospital, I'm sitting in the waiting room, and they have TVs in there. And the first World Trade Center had already been hit, and they were talking about a plane smashing into the building. And I'm like, damn, that's fucking weird, dude, that a plane hits a skyrise, and just kind of thinking all that's kind of crazy. And then boom, a second one hits. And I'm just, and at this point, on the news thing, they're starting to talk about terrorism and things like that. And yeah, it's like, well, that's weird that now two buildings right by each other get smacked. And while I'm sitting there watching this, Roof, my name gets called. So I go back into the room, and they go and do my appointment. Done with my appointment. Everything's at this point in time. No, there's nothing really being said. It just seems everything's kind of normal. I just watched it, and I'm thinking, how weird is this? Well, I go back to the shop, and everybody's gone, and I'm like walking. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And here comes a sergeant, this Sergeant Starkey. He's like, hey, Roof, hey, hey, we might be going to war, and you need to go back to your room and get all your stuff ready, call your family and everything. They're shut down the base. There's no one allowed on or off. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, man, there's a terrorist attack. And I'm like, it's the shit I was just watching. What? I'm like, and so I go back to my room. I'm kind of like freaking out. They don't, everybody's kind of like, there's no one talking. Everybody's like locked in their rooms. And I go back to my room. I get on the phone. I start calling my family, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on. They're telling me I'm gonna go to war, and I'm kind of like freaking out. I'm really new to all this, and I didn't know what to expect. But that's all that kind of was, though. It was kind of a drill for us. It was at that moment in time where shit got real. Things changed on base. The way you came on and left base, it all changed. I mean, they started doing 100% vehicle inspections, checking ID cards. We were at the highest threat level you could be at on a military installation.
Because at that point they didn't know what was going on.
They didn't know
Just
who was
like
being attacked.
This happened. We don't know if it's going to go worldwide. We don't know if it's everywhere. Yeah.
Right now that they got two trade centers, the Pentagon, and then there was another plane that had went rogue, and they couldn't. They had lost contact with it. So
that was the one that crashed, right?
Yeah, the passengers took over and ended up fighting the terrorists and actually got them to crash in an open field. Yeah. But yeah, until then, everything was shut down. I mean, you talk about the airports, everything. I mean, this was the highest threat level I've ever seen our country in ever. See,
and I didn't realize how intense the military reacted to it, because I was in 8th grade at that point.
Right.
And I wasn't aware of world events or anything. So I didn't know that all the bases started shutting down like that.
Oh, yeah. It came to a point, like I said, they wouldn't let no one leave. It was 100% lockdown. Anybody that was trying to get back on had to go through extensive search where they had to pull off to the side, open up their vehicles, dogs sniffing, everything. I mean, 100% every single car. So it really changed things, and it changed the way things operated even after, that kind of settled, and we didn't deploy until like 2 years later after all this, right? So we did have to adjust to a different way of living, and like I said, now we know that there's more of a threat level to our own soil, and if it's that easy for them to go hijack planes, who knows what's next. And we are all kind of uncertain at that moment in time of like, what's next, and I think that was the big question. We don't know. Was this just a small thing, or is this more worldwide? And our country hadn't really dealt with any kind of thing like this since like Pearl Harbor, right? And Pearl Harbor was done in Hawaii, which, a lot of people on the mainland weren't so affected by this. This is the first time kind of that the mainland had been affected by something to this effect. So we did think, like, oh shit, we're going off to war, but that's it. Kind of like I said, at this point in time, it gave us awareness and readiness that we weren't ready yet. And I think that bought us some time from 2001 to 2003 to get ready, because now we're like, oh shit, there's a threat, and we might need to go take care of this threat. And I think it woke up the entire country in the way that we were kind of getting lackadaisical, getting comfortable, complacent, all those things. It really made us have to act different.
Well, you go from this could happen to oh shit, this is happening. So that's a huge different mind shift.
Yeah, we went from hypothetical to reacting. It's real. And everything you train for is all of a sudden, holy shit, now I might have to really use this training. It puts a lot of thoughts in your head. So until about 2002, we'll go. Let's see. So I'll back up real quick. After about 2 years of being with Supply Battalion, after the World Trade Center stuff, all that stuff happened, and we kind of learned that we weren't deploying I ended up getting switched to a different unit. Me and my buddy Ben. Uh,
You've been with him this whole time, like
yeah.
all the training and transfer to California and everything.
No. So with him, no. Okay. Oh, I never gave the Warble story. I'll give that one at the end. Don't let me forget. Warble, I
Okay.
never knew whatever happened to him. I think he actually went to go into I think he went into the air wing, So I think he went like a different path than me. I think he went to Florida and all that stuff, and he probably had to do one extra year.
Okay, so this is
This
a
is my
different
other guy,
guy.
Ben,
Okay.
who is Ojeda. He ended up coming to Supply Battalion, and we hit it off. He was about 6 months behind me. So when he came in, he was kind of like my little bro. And we just kind of always followed each other, and we ended up getting handpicked by this staff sergeant to go to this other unit. Well, now we went from being just like a support element to now we're embedded with the grunts. Now we're actually supplying the frontline Marines now instead of just like a base wide thing. So now we're attached to a grunt unit, and now we have to. Our training is upped up. Now we're humping, doing all these crazy ass extra things that weren't doing so much in supply time. They used to run the shit out of us, not so much make us hike with all our packs and everything. That's what this unit did. And so I was at this unit, and it was a different feel there because I'm right by the beach, and the barracks there weren't so tight as the other ones were. Like they weren't so gung ho. Like we had field days, but it wasn't to the effect that I was used to having. It did lax up a little bit there. I wish I could have took the good with the bad from each of the places and made the fucking best place ever. But they both had their goods and their bads, no doubt. But Supply Battalion was a really rough start for me. I got to say that unit really put a bad taste in my mouth from the beginning, and to where I was like, maybe this isn't a career thing for me. They really kind of put that in my head. Then when I went to this other unit, which was 1st Meth Headquarters Group, I felt like this was more of the Marine Corps I was kind of expecting, and it wasn't like boot camp still. It was more like, we're being treated more like humans than a boot, and that's how I felt like at Supply Battalion. It was just hazing or something, like just constantly messing with us, constantly, to the point where you just were like, fuck this fool, fuck these guys. But while I'm at 1st Meth Headquarters Group for a little period of time, they started having us build up stuff. They obviously got word that we are going to be deploying to the Middle East, because now all of a sudden I'm taking all these boxes that we had. They're making us spray paint them tan. They're making us put these identifying numbers on them. We had to start prepping them up, making sure that all the gear was inside of it, taking inventory of what's inside that number box. It was just a huge buildup. And then around November, early December of 2002, they start getting word that guys are getting deployed. So my buddy Jimenez and another guy, I think 2 of them get orders, like they're an early party. They're going to be leaving. They got to go to Camp Commando Kuwait, and they got to start setting up shop. And so when they got their orders, it was like, oh shit, man. All this stuff that we've been doing, and they never tell you why you're doing any of this. It just dawned on us though. Oh shit, man. The reason why we did this is because they're making us ship it all off, and we're going to some foreign land, dude. And we started finding out, oh, we're going to Kuwait. Oh shit, we're going, oh, that's next to Iraq. And it all just started clicking on us and realizing, oh my gosh, this is getting real. Well, after those guys been gone for about a month, all of a sudden, my gunny comes up to me and hands me my orders. And I'm reading him, what? I'm going now? He's like, yeah. Wow. Okay. I was not ready for this because once again, there was no warning of I had a little bit of some time. I think my orders were like 3 days. I had 3 days, I think, from the time I got my orders to kind of get all my actions in order before I got shipped out.
Did you got your orders like separate from your unit?
Yes, because I got temporary assigned duty, which means I was TAD,
Oh,
which means that they
okay.
had to take me as an early party away from my unit, and I'm going to be a part of another made up unit. Right, they made up a whole another unit to go do the startup. So yes,
Dude,
they
deploying alone is intimidating, but going there with a unit that you don't know and you don't trust, like that you have to build that trust, even though they're part of your system still, like that's got to be intimidating
it
to be
is.
taken away from who you've been training with, who you've been working, who you've been trusting side by side, and being thrown in a war zone with new people. Like that's
Well,
intimidating. I can't imagine that.
luckily there was one other dude, Martinez, but he was part of he was a different group, right? I was the supply guy. He was gosh damn, I forgot what his shit is, but he's not supply. And so, but he was in our shop, like their fucking group. There was a very small group of them. So I already knew Martinez at least, and then some of the
That's
guys
good.
that. So what they're doing is they're taking everybody from all the units. They're just plucking out until they make a big ass. They make their own unit out of us. All these guys and girls that we were going with, I've been seeing them around forever in formations. I've been running with them because we all got to run together and do all that stuff. We just don't really talk to each other because we're different sections. Motor T's over there, engineering's over there, supplies right here. Like we're all
Okay,
different.
so it's people you've been seeing, just
I've been
not
seeing
people
them
that you've been
because we're
side by
all in the
side.
same
Okay.
battalion, right? We're all in the same battalion. We're all
Okay.
just different. We're all. So the way that it works, there's the battalions, then there's the units. All those kind of things. It breaks it down. So we're all under the same, big battalion, but we're all different companies, right? And then
Yeah.
under those companies are the different departments of each of the companies. So I was part of First Meth Headquarters Group, which consisted of Motor T, engineering, supply, some of the S4 shops, armory, things like that. Like it was the kind of like all those groups of people. And so they get us all together and they ship us off. We fly out of March Air Force Base out of California. And the first place we land is in Frankfurt, Germany. We get to Frankfurt, Germany, and there's a problem with the landing gear, something like that. So now they got to put us all in a hotel. And I probably can't really tell the stories from all that, just because it was really wild. And so, if you want to hear them, though, I do talk about them in some of my other episodes. So, you ever want to hear some wild ones? I think I have told them. But some of them I'm scared to tell because we had a lot of fun in Frankfurt, Germany. We weren't supposed to go out into town and stuff, but we had a staff sergeant who made us go and get money for everybody, and we were partying way hard. They had girls coming in there. There's just it was a rager, like crazy, and we all had to be in formation at 03 in the morning, and everybody was wasted. Like there was guys being carried out. Um, People were falling out in the formation. The colonel was losing his mind because we're in formation and people can't stand up straight. There's guys on the curb laying down sleeping. it
Oh
looked like a
man.
it looked like a war story. Cause I came out my room and down the hall, there's this. It was crazy. I can't even express to you how wild 300 Marines got. They messed up letting us do that. And we tapped out one of their beers too, to the point we drank it completely gone. Um, Anyways, we get on the bus back, get to the tarmac, and everybody's just dead, sleeping. I mean, everywhere you got us, everybody's the ride there was so quiet because everybody slept. We got to the airport thing, everybody fucking fell asleep there. Got on the plane, everybody fell asleep again on the plane. While we're in flight, I'm knocked out. and I hear doo doo doo. Brace yourself. We're going to be having an emergency landing. You guys need to make sure that you put your hands over your head and tuck your head in between your legs. What? Like I feel like I'm dreaming. I'm probably still buzzed up. And so we literally land at the same airport we took off at. We must have did like a quick circle, but I was knocked out. I felt like we flew for a while, and I'm just like, we're landing at the same place. Oh shit! So we get there, and they tell us again that we're gonna have to go be put up in a room. Everybody's just like, yeah, round two. Well, this time I get the voluntold, hey, Corporal Roof, and I'm like, oh, shit. We need you to take the weapons to the armory. So there's a working party of guys that got to get all the M16s, and now we got to go to the armory there. It was at an army base, so we went, took all our weapons, dropped them off, go back. I'm expecting to go to a party, and no, there was a curfew set. They had staff NCOs on each level. They made sure everybody was in their rooms. There was no messing around this time. The colonel had locked that up. Nah, we ain't doing it round two, boys. So I just go in my room. I get like on a robe, and I like take this nice bubble bath, and I knock out. I just knock out until we got to get going for the next day. Then we fly into Kuwait. We get on these buses, and these buses are covered completely. You can't see out of them. You can't see in them. So you kind of feel like this is weird. I don't know where I'm going. I can't see shit. And everything looks deserty out there. Time's all messed up for us, and finally they get us to Camp Commando. And Camp Commando's in Kuwait. It's an Kuwaiti military base that was taken over during the Desert Storm era. It was kind of the last stand where the Americans fought the remaining Iraqi soldiers and had to get them out of there and oust them and stuff. So, there's a lot of history going into where we're going, and what a weird feeling that was, right? Being on some foreign soil, not knowing what the hell's going on. The first night we're there, there's a major flood. I get woken up hearing like a river going down as I'm sleeping on my cot, and it's because we got flooded. And we're like, what the hell? It rained here? Yeah, it has about every horrible element. There's no snow. It's just hot as hell. It rains, and the sandstorms are no joke.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get there, and I'm a working party now. Part of my job is building up the base and offloading any kind of delivery vehicles that come, make sure they get put in the right spot. And then eventually they would have us go to the ports where the ships were coming in, and they would be offloading all the vehicles. Then we'd have to sit there and convoy all the different vehicles that came off, take them, and then put them all in their respective units. And then the units would come and pick up their convoys and leave off with them. So we were just offloading all the ships, everything that was coming in. There was tons of just equipment, you name it, is all finally getting there, and we had to offload it. Couple weeks into it, the rest of my unit ends up showing up, and now my missions kind of shift back into me becoming a supply Marine, setting up the supply shops. We kind of were making sure that we had all the extra gears, MREs, anything that kind of the basic, Marine needed, we had it. And on March 8th, 2003, we take our first missile, and they declare war like that day, right? They declare war. I think it was March 8th. And when war was declared, at first we were like kind of expecting something to happen. Well, nothing really happened that night for us. That next morning is when life changed as we knew it, because now I'm going out, and everybody's not in the shop. People are kind of scattered throughout. My buddy Ben, he's sitting at a desk, and I'm walking through, and all of a sudden I hear a and it sounded like someone jumping into a pool, and that noise when it sounds like when someone gets in it, it's like, boop, boop. You know what I mean? That's a kind of the sound I remember. And then just feeling rattling, like it just felt like a fucking earthquake went through us. And I'm like, oh my God, we are being attacked. And so no alarms are going off at this point in time. Everybody's just fucking like, I'm running back to go grab all my gear because I have nothing on me. Grab all my shit because that's what they always told us is, when things hit the fan, make sure you have everything on your person. So they already had the staging stuff. So we already knew where it was. I just wasn't far away from my shit like everybody else was. So I go run and grab my stuff. I'm running out of the building. As I'm running out, there's guys trying to run in. I hit this guy Funes so hard. I felt horrible because he just like depleted like a football player falling backwards. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm trying to grab him and throw him up as I'm running out. And so I go running out because I'm fucking thinking, "Oh God, we're getting smashed by these missiles because they know we're exactly where we are." So as soon as I get into, we had spent a lot of time building these scud bunkers, and get into the scud bunker, and all of a sudden the alarms, whoop, whoop, and it's like, fuck, oh wow, now the alarm's going off, and it's just like everything is so loud and chaotic. People are running, dust is flying everywhere because everybody's like running around with their heads like they didn't know what the fuck to do. Like we all knew that we were supposed to go to this place, but we didn't know. Hey, before then, here's all the things that are gonna occur. Um, when we all get into the scud bunker, I'm like, I deal with things by laughing. I'm a laughing kind of guy. I don't. There's no. I'm not trying to laugh at the situation. I guess I was laughing because I'm like all the things. Like I can't believe I made it out of this. I hit that guy on the way in. People are just, it's just my brain's going all over. So I'm like kind of laughing about it because I'm like, wow, this is real. And I'm like, I'm like, it's like a nervous laugh, I guess. But my staff sergeant hears me, and my staff sergeant's this big, black, bodybuilding dude. He's on the weightlifting team. He comes and he's like punches me in my chest, like with both his fists. He's like, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" He's like, "You realize we can put some of your friends in body bags and all this?" Because we had no idea where the impact was. It did look like it hit inside the base. Because we had a pretty big size base, and it looked like it hit the Seacock, which is where the command center was. And so, and literally, we were with these NBC guys. They're like the biological guys. They went out and checked to go make sure it's not a dirty bomb and everything. They said, "Bro, that thing was dead on point to hit dead center, but it was off." So, thank God it was off, and that wasn't the case for us. But after that had happened, the missiles really started coming down range on us. So they had to put the Patriot missiles up into the hills right above where we were. And you can see these Patriot missiles just shooting off. And it's like it's the craziest thing to ever watch. But it's like little baby birds fighting a big bird, and it's taking it out. And then all of a sudden just shrapnel and stuff falls to the ground and stuff. It's wild. But we were getting launched at constantly. For a while there. For the first couple of weeks, it was just constantly running to the point we even slept in the scud bunker for like 2 nights because it was just constantly running to the scud bunker. It was like, fuck it, man. Why are we running to the place? We might as well just sleep where we're running to.
Mm-hmm.
So we all just, just slept in the dirt, and we were all in our biohazard suits too. We had to be in Mach 1 because they didn't know if they were using dirty bombs on us. And if you guys don't know what those are full complete suits with your gas mask, and these suits have charcoal and stuff inside of them. And we're dealing with really hot weather over there. So I think they made us stay in Mach 1 for like the first day. And then they made us go down to like where we were able to just use the bottoms and remove the top, but have the top close to us. Same thing with the gas mask and all that stuff. But never in my life did I ever feel so much more like a sitting duck and felt lack of control. And we also got to the point where we were numb to the alarms anymore at some point in time when we were stopped running. And it's like, fuck it. If this thing hits me, fuck it, it hits me. You know, I mean, we started getting to that level. Like, I'm so tired, I don't even want to move anymore. But, you know, colonels weren't having it, man. They started like, hey, sound off. Now they're taking roll call, you know, making sure everybody's in these bunkers. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people, probably 50% of the people just started saying, fuck it. If I get killed, I'm dead. Because they just were so tired.
Well, and then there's the concept that if anybody's seen a bunker that's been hit, there's still a lot of damage that happens with that. So the bunker, you know, I mean, it'll help some, but you know, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die, whether you're in the bunker or not. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Do you really want to be stuck in a bunker too, like trapped? You know, like I mean, they made us build the bunker with e-tools. We had the shovels in there. We also had to make sure there was escape routes and all that stuff. So I mean, they kind of did, but you're right. If that thing crumbled in, we're done, son. No matter what, those bombs are no fucking joke. I never. You don't realize how much real live fire feels until you feel it. You know, we don't do a lot of live fire and stuff like that, but when you actually have the rounds that are coming down range and they're fucking popping by you, or you're hearing explosions pretty close to you, you know, it's a different kind of feeling. So while I was here in Kuwait, and once the war kind of kicked off, and we busted the berm down, this is at the point now where they do the shock and awe, right? So they take the B-2 bombers and bomb the shit out of the surrounding areas of Iraq. After that, they sent in to take the tank battalions, right? So all the tank battalions came in behind after they did the shock and awe. Then after that, they sent in the ground troops. And then after the ground troops were the support groups, right? And we all had to make sure that we are all in line with each other so one could feed the other, you know? So we ended up, you know, setting up a supply point in Babylon, Iraq. And we would have to take convoys, fill them up, send them off into Babylon, Iraq, and then they would send guys back, and it was just a constant trying to get goods and stuff from Kuwait into Iraq, because Iraq was just a shithole, shit show. There was, you know, there was just sporadic problems everywhere. They had, you know, big units from Iraqi soldiers backing off and leaving and retreating and then coming back later. So we would think somewhere's cleared, and it's not cleared because they just left for the night, came back, you know. So Iraq was a really tough war for the ground troops and stuff like that. And that's why there was a big thing with the Army supply convoy that got, you know, ambushed. And you guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Jessica Lynch story, but that was while I was over there, and that became a big story for the supply people, because that supply convoy got destroyed and they lost a lot of life, and Jessica Lynch became a prisoner of war and ended up having to be rescued by special forces to get her out of there. But that place was crazy, and they didn't like us there. You know, a lot of the kids, you really liked you, didn't like you, get rocks thrown at you. You know, there's just a lot of, it's just different, and it's different world that you're not used to living.
Well, and you also went, you know, kind of in the beginning of things. When
Right.
I went, things were a little bit different. They were more used to us. They were depending on us. Like the kids were coming to me for like candy or like hair ties or water, you know. And so it sounds like you guys were in this, like everyone's
They
like,
already got
"Yo,
to
dude,
know,
get
they
out of
got to
here."
know who these people were. We're not just some assholes killing them. We're, you know, we were
Yeah.
taking care of their kids and stuff like that. They didn't know us right then though, right? Like you said,
Yep.
This is brand new. Who the hell? Some of these people have never seen Americans ever in their life,
And they
and
just went,
now they're the guy with
we're the
these.
infidels.
Yeah, now we're wearing these. We got these crazy weapons. We kind of look very intimidating.
Yeah.
I get it.
See, it was a different world that you were going in compared to
Oh,
me, and
right.
I just went. Let's see, that was 2003, and
Yes.
so I went 6 years later, and so it's amazing just how much 6 years can change the mentality. So that's interesting.
Well, and you got to think that while I'm still over there, they were still under the rule of Saddam Hussein. We didn't take Saddam Hussein out until April. And so, for that good month or so of fighting, we're also still dealing where, well, where the hell is this fool Saddam Hussein and his kid, his two sons? And, there's just a lot of unknowns. And then once they captured him and we took him out, there was a sense of like, oh, we got this. No, this just left it open for the Sunnis, the Shiites, and everybody else to come out of the woodworks. And now we're fighting like a triangle of different people. And
Hmm.
those triangles are fighting with each other too, because they all want to be the leaders, right? The Shiites want to be the Sunnis want to be the leaders. All these groups now that Saddam's taken out, who's been over there, he strong armed them, intimidated them. Now he's gone, removed. Now who's the next one in charge? So they all want that power, you
And
know.
there was just a lot of confusion, a lot of insecurity, and they didn't know who to trust and what to do. So yeah, you guys paved a lot of the way for when my unit came in and stuff. So it's
Oh, and
really,
we
really
lost a lot of
interesting.
lives by training these guys who end
Yes.
up killing us because they didn't like us and we didn't realize that we're training the enemy,
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that were in there at the beginning had to go through a lot of unknowns, and that's a big part of the reasons why we did lose a lot of life, is because there was just so much uncertainty. Once the people started realizing that we're kind of there, and they started seeing that we're not just there breaking down their place, we're building it up too. I
Hmm.
don't know if a lot of people realize that we built a lot of their infrastructures, a lot of those Navy CBs and stuff like that, built up entire buildings and schools and things like that. Even though we blew them down, we went back and we fixed it.
Well, I think that's why, my deployment was a little bit different. I mean, like we still had hell, from the
Sure.
enemy and stuff, but I think that's why it was so much different is you guys were clearing out a lot of the negative, and then like my unit, in the years, between us, was coming in and making those changes. Like I had said before, like my unit, what the field artillery guys I was working with, and then my other, the rest of my brigade and stuff, we were working on teaching them how their medical stuff and teaching them how to greenhouse and teaching them how to rebuild after you guys cleared out a lot of the shit. So, I appreciate what you did. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that that's kind of how it went. It's you guys had to go through hell to like clear out the infection. And then my people were coming in and like, okay, how can we help you heal now? And
And
so
we're
you guys got the
also
shit of a lot.
right, and we're also and they're defining who the enemy is,
Mhm.
because we don't even know who the enemy is right now. Some of them were dressing like normal people. Some of them were, you couldn't tell who was who. So we did not have a definition of who our true enemy was. It could have been
It
the
it
lady carrying a baby right there that had a cell phone in her hand and just pushed the button and blew us all to shit. You know what I mean? We at that level, we're still trying to identify who the enemy is, who are friends, who are foes. We're in a foreign land too. We don't know where the hell left and right is. They can send us right into any ambush they wanted to. Um, so by the time a lot of you guys got there later, a lot of that was defined, right? We already know
yeah.
that's a bad area. Don't your ass go over there. We already defined that as a no-go zone, like.
Well, the best visual that I have seen so far of what you're talking about is I don't know if you've seen the movie 13 Hours, Benghazi. It was about
Yeah.
Benghazi. That was the most amazing visibility that I could see about not to define the enemy, because even when I went through, we had people that we didn't know who we could trust, when we could trust them, and this, that, and the other. And you had people right alongside you that were enemy that you thought were friends, or you were friends that you thought were enemies. And so that movie, if anybody wants a good explanation of what it's like over there to be like, I don't know who is good and who is bad, 13 Hours is an amazing movie for that. So,
They're
and
very
that's
good
kind of around
chameleons.
this.
They are very good
Yeah, and that's,
chameleons.
it sounds like that's really similar to what you guys were dealing with, especially. Like, I dealt with it kind of, but you guys were like right in the middle of all of that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And uh, that's why I think, it was a tough fight at the beginning, right? And then uh, these guys would sit there and make you think that they were retreating and everything else, and they wouldn't retreat. They would just be going to different positions and moving and dispersing, and then reappearing somewhere, and then they started going in and mobbing towns and began like gangster and scaring all the civilians. It was wild, wild west over there. But anyhow, uh, so around June, I get a Red Cross message from home. My grandmother is she's on her last breath, and they there was they wanted to try to get me home so I could say goodbye to her. And at this time, like everything was kind of on the downside, at least where they could afford for me to leave home if I had to. And so that's what happened is I ended up getting that Red Cross message. I go home. Unfortunately, I didn't make it in time. But I was able to go to the funeral and everything else and pay my respects that way. But now I'm at home and it's 4th of July. I mean, I get home and we're right around 4th of July weekend, and I have barely experienced myself back on American soil, and now I got to go through this fucking booms and bangs here. I wasn't ready for that, and I didn't even know I wasn't ready for that. I didn't know that I had any effects from what I had experienced until 4th of July. When that 4th of July happened, I knew something's not right with me. I've never felt this way in my life on 4th of July. 4th of July used to be fun and exciting and as a kid. Now I'm fucking sitting here like damn near wanting to fall down to the ground, and ended up leaving the city and getting out of the city where I didn't have to hear the booms and bangs as much. And through the years, it's gotten a lot better. Now I know, like, if I know something's going to happen, my mind can kind of handle it. It's the unexpected shit that happens when it gets me, when I'm not ready for it. It's all of a sudden the jolt, the bang, it really brings me right back to feeling like a sitting duck.
Yep. I still wear these headphones on the 4th of July myself. So and it's
I don't mind putting the noise canceling things on either, because I've been in here where it sounds like a freaking war zone, like worse than a war zone going off, and fireworks are illegal where I'm at. But people, we live right by Vegas and stuff in Mexico, so people always find to get the stuff across. But anyhow, when I'm back at home, I'm having a hard time kind of adjusting, not really knowing what is going on with me. I've never experienced these feelings in my body and stuff like that. And so by the time I had went home, I was already at the level of being able to get ready to check out because my EAS was coming up. And I had saved up. If you saved up 63 days, you were allowed to use 63 days. And I, obviously being deployed, I didn't have any time to go home. And I was already stationed pretty close to home. So I had saved up those 63 days and was able to get out early and go home and start trying to work on my life. But I'll kind of stop it here. So that way, when we get back, we'll talk about my experience as I got out and what I dealt with from there. But that was kind of my experience. I know I kind of probably glossed over it. One of those quick stories that I wanted to tell you about Warble is you're not allowed to bring food into the barracks, especially in boot camp. Never, right? Isaac Warble was considered a double ration. So I was considered a diet recruit. Now the diet recruit is the guy that doesn't weigh to their weight standards. So I have to wear this stupid white line on my shit, and it identifies me as a diet recruit. I have to go to the very end of the line, of the chow hall line, and I'm one of the last ones to eat. And when the little guys are done, we're all done. And I have to stand with my plate at the end and get my plate inspected to make sure I didn't eat all the things they told me not to touch, or eat half this or none of that, right? So the drill instructor had to make sure I didn't do it. Isaac was one of those guys who, when he was done, he could go through the line one more time if he wanted, because he was kind of too skinny. Well, dude is just a hungry dude. And so we're back at the barracks. There's usually like a little time where the drill instructors set up a little the boxes, and they do like knowledge, and they just kind of talk to you, like tell you stories, like kind of just give you a little intimate time. Well, sometimes when they want you to sit down, we always have to sit left over right, Indian style, right? So left over right, left leg over right leg, and then left hand on left knee, right hand on right knee. And we have to keep sitting up and sitting down because we're not doing it fast enough. Well, I hear my buddy go, help. And I can see in my peripherals that there's like a splatter of something all over the ground. I'm like looking, I'm like, what the fuck? And as I look over, his eyes are bulged. He's like, help me. And I see that yogurt splattered everywhere. He put yogurt in his damn coat, in his cargo pocket. So while we're doing the ups and downs, the shit splatters everywhere. And he's trying to rub it with his ass.
Yeah.
After about the third time of doing it, the drill instructor finally sees it, and he's like, what in the fuck? And he loses his mind, takes Isaac to the quarterdeck and just smokes him. So that was kind of my story of my buddy Warball. I was like, bro, I ain't up and on that one, dog. Dude, man, purple yogurt, dude. Purple yogurt.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, got through all that. The military was, even though it was 4 years of my time, I have a plethora of stories and a plethora of memories. And I really do feel like the Marine Corps really helped me become the human that I am today. And some people may like it, some people may not like it. Not everybody likes Marines, right? We could be a little blunt, we can be a little bit rough around the edges on stuff. But we can be, your best of friend too, right? And and that's one thing I've gained and missed the most is some of the brotherhood and the sisterhood and just the friendships that I got to hang out with some of these people day in, day out. And we went through the suck together, and we got to know each other as we hated it, and got to love each other doing something we hate. So it's been a beautiful thing. And like I said, I carry on a lot of those friendships still today, more dearly than I do some of the people I grew up with. So I if I was to ever, do it again, I would. I definitely would do it again. A lot of good shit came out, a lot of bad shit came out of it, but that's just anything in life, right? And it's really what you make out of it, out of every situation. You can turn a shit situation into a great situation. It's literally that mindset and how you make it out.
Well, can
right.
I ask you, what you asked me last time,
Yeah.
right? Like you had asked me, what would I have done different, right? And like my thing was, I was just such in a bad mentality. I wish that I would have prayed more. I wish I would have, kind of had a better mentality throughout the whole time when I was in the military. What is it, if anything, that you would have done different while you were in the military?
This one's easy for me. I would have been more of a Marine. I would have took my being a Marine way more serious. I would have lived for the moment than trying to get out of the moment all the time, right? And I wish I would have embraced more of the moments, and embraced the suck a little bit more. You don't want to, right? But I probably needed it, and there's probably a lot of good that could have came out of it. But you know what? Things happen for a reason, and the trajectory led me to where is because this is where God wanted me to be, at the end of the day. And so I I don't necessarily know that I would change anything, right? Because, like you said, it defined us. It's who we are today. I would have just, like I said, probably taken a little more serious. And there's a little bit of me that wishes I probably would have stayed in, which I wish. That's crazy. I'm saying that shit because you would have never fucking heard me say that when I was in.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've been out, there's a part of me that definitely misses what they had to offer and what they had, and but like I said, I don't live in regret. I just take my lemons and make lemonade out of it. And so I tell my kids anytime they get something, hey, that's lemonade from my lemons. You're going to school off my lemonade. But that's about gonna wrap it up for my version. And I know that was kind of a long one, and I didn't even touch on everything, but got through the basic of it. And so next week we'll kind of talk about how life was for us as we got out, and and I think everybody kind of has a little bit of a rough landing when they get out. I haven't really heard too many people of like, man, it was such a smooth sailing for me. I did great. I haven't heard too many of those stories. I've maybe heard one where someone's like, nah, man, it was kind of easy. I was like, wow, you're a first then.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well, do you have anything else for us?
Well, I was going to say, I figure, next week we can also maybe touch base on a few of the things that we kind of glossed over because yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much to talk about,
Yeah,
so
maybe
much.
maybe we do that. We'll just kind of do a little bit more of a reflection, and we can both do it, together, and then we'll talk more about what it was like getting out. I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea because you're right. There's a lot of glossing over stuff. There's things that I did, while I was into or whatever. I didn't really talk about a lot of that. I kind of just got through the service part so much.
Hmm.
So the odds and ends. But yeah, we'll go ahead and do that next
Yeah.
time.
Well, and then if you're okay with it, I can end us on a poem again.
Right, and we didn't even start off with one. So damn it, yes, we need to end it with one.
No, it's okay. So I had an idea of the poem that I wanted to read, but as we're talking, I was just thinking, we're talking about our military service and talking about the physical fights that, we're into, with this stuff. But as we've been talking, I've been thinking about, the emotional fights and stuff like that, right? And just how like as a soldier we're trained to fight through a lot of the emotional stuff and the physical stuff, and like we get all these tools to learn how to battle, right? And like when you start going through the healing process with from a lot of the traumas and whatnot, I bring it back to what are the tools that we have, to help us fight through those battles because they are just as intense. Even though we're not in the military and it's not an outside enemy, we have these internal enemies. And so this poem that I wrote, it's called Fight for Freedom, right? And it talks about how you make that decision to go through this healing journey, and you've got your trauma, Satan, addictions that start fighting you, right? And then you start learning what tools do you have to continue moving forward. So this is just kind of like what happens when you're at that door about to make a big change in your life and everything starts coming at you. And so, what are you going to do to continue moving through that door? And so, this is part of my journey series. Like I said in the book, which it is. Some of them are getting printed. They'll be available online. Hopefully next week. I'm just working with some stuff with an LLC with legal stuff, but I'm actually stuff is going to print as we speak. So if you guys are interested in my book, let me know. You can go and sometime soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll have it available on my website to be able to order. And if you order directly from me, I can send you a signed copy. So I'll more details to come. But anyways, I'm
Exciting.
excited. Yes, it's
Yes.
moving forward. But as things have been moving forward, there's a lot of the emotional stuff that's been going on. So it's kind of like perfect with this poem. So I'll end on this poem. Thank you guys for doing this with us and riding this roller coaster with us. So fight for freedom, right? At the end of the path, the darkness gets thick. I push my way through, feeling this is a trick. When I finally see that door so inviting, I feel my breath catch and I know I'm surviving. Suddenly, fingers start wrapping around me. They pull me so hard I fall to my knee. They tug at my heart and tighten the strings. They make me feel many negative things. They get into my brain and they get into my mind and wriggle my brain, changing my thoughts to make me insane. They squeeze at my throat. My words disappear until the end of my voice starts getting near. They blindfold my eyes with a blur so intense the hope I saw before looks surrounded by fence. They tie up my feet so I can't take a step, stealing away my vigor and pep. They reach for my hands so I can't touch the knob. My fingers I'm stretching go numb and throb. However, this journey that God sent me on has given me muscles to help make me strong. I pull out my hands from those fingers so tough when I finally realize I have had enough. I wrench them off from strangling my voice, remembering through this, I always have a choice. I whisper the words, faith in God does remain. I ask for some help to escape this pain. My eyes start to flicker. My sight is reborn. I see the fingers now and where my skin they have torn. Behind me, I feel a presence like ice, trying to intimidate. Those eyes, they do slice. They feel like daggers all over my back, and I keep reaching forward, giving no slack. Knob in hand, I feel like a rubber band. If I let go, in darkness, I'll land. I turn it as fast as I possibly can, feeling the cold behind like a huge roaring fan. I pull open the door, and his warmness engulfs me, a feeling more grand than I could foresee. His light from inside blasts out all around. The fingers retreat. I am no longer bound. My first step in freedom, I gratefully take. From the nightmare that was, I finally wake.
Wow. Gosh. I love it. I love how the poems kind of fit to our conversations. It's going right around right along your journey.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you once again for another amazing poem. And you guys, when this stuff comes out, we're gonna start posting up here so you guys can go get a copy and show Marie some support. And I mean, some of these poems, you're gonna be like, wow, they really have a way of hitting the emotions and stuff. You're kind of hitting it all. It's really good. I love it. I
Thank you.
love it.
And thank you for willing to be vulnerable with me and sharing your story with me, the hard parts and the healing and the growth and the down and dirty. And I'm loving being a part of this to share my story and give voice to my little girl. And then hearing you give voice to your little boy and finding that joy and that love and that compassion for yourself. And I love it. I love it. This has been so fantastic. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. It's wonderful.
No, and thank you, Marie. I mean, you really you brought this out, man. I mean, your story just really touched me, and I was like, wow, we really got to go through this together. And our journeys are very similar but very different.
Yes.
And it's good to hear of the male side and the female side, Army, Marine. It's we're getting different perspectives. There's a lot of similarity, but a lot of differences too. But at the end of the day, we're both on that trajectory of we want to be the best versions of ourselves, right? And so we're willing to do this, and it's hard. It's not always easy. You've told some stories that aren't easy to tell. Same here, you know what I mean? And we probably ain't. We're not done yet, But I love it, and I appreciate your vulnerability too. So you keep doing that. You are a beacon for the rest of our brothers and sisters, and we do need a loud voice on our female side, because
Thank you.
I feel like a lot of females feel like they don't have a voice, or their voices are always silenced. So you be that voice that someone needs to hear, and you're doing a great job. And I'm glad that I came across you, and you're like I'm like your first podcast experience.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Completely.
so,
Yep.
you know, I'm glad that we're doing this journey together. But thanks once again. We'll go ahead and get the heck out of here before we hit 2 hours. We're almost
Yeah.
at that's a
Yeah.
long one.
We could talk to about like 10 hours every session and it'd be wonderful.
Easy. Right. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys once again. Please like, share, all that great stuff, and that will help get the word out. And, you know, if you're having some kind of a journey yourself, you want to talk to us, give us an email. Every day is a Saturday, 365@yahoo.com. Also, if you have a YouTube, subscribe over there at EDAS, USMC Veteran. And if you're struggling out there, don't forget about the Crisis Lifeline. Veterans 988, press 1, and hopefully they'll put you in touch with someone who can get you some help. But other than that, you know how we say it, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.